because in the world of scripted content, all of this competition from social and from streaming is more bad than good because you're going to consume in one or the other. The day's still only 24 hours long, and a minute spent here can't be spent somewhere else. But with sports, it seems like it's creating so many new ways to engage with people that to me, it seems like the advantages outweigh the challenges to the traditional business model. You lose that kind of traditional linear TV audience or some of them, but you gain all of these other ways to not only capture their attention, but brand new ways to interact with them and kind of build that relationship. Darcy, one thing that we talked about on the pre-call that really struck me, and I was hoping maybe you could describe it here in the sim racing for F1. If you could talk a little bit about what you told us about the interactivity, the opportunities to kind of engage people with the real sport and the real athletes, while they're racing. I thought that was a really interesting example.
Yeah, and I think most sports should take a page out of that playbook. There's, if there's a sport that doesn't have a game, let me know. They're everywhere. And this new thing called AI that everybody, now calls what machine learning was for all this time, gives you opportunities in real time to connect what's going on in the sport to the game. And actually, from the sim racing perspective, you can get in whatever your setup is in your room and race against real racers. And to the point where now during the real race, you can race against these ghost images of what's going on in the real race inside of your game. That is, for the first time where anybody can participate in the sport, whether, the racers don't know you're there. And actually that's something that's happened in Formula E where the crowd boosts you get more boost for your car because you got social media engagement. I mean, that's really cool stuff, right? So that's how you get them. You got to figure out what they're doing in the game that is representative of your sport and figure out how you connect those dots. In racing, it's very intimate. You're in the cockpit, you're at home watching the race on one screen and you're racing against those people that are in that race on another screen, and you feel like you're in it and you're participating, not just passively watching, which is the key. And I think somebody said earlier, but between the generations, that's the difference. Linear people lean back and watch linear and they don't interact, and that's okay. You got to still serve them. This new generation, they want to be in it. They want to be part of it. Sim racing is probably the best example of real time being in the race, racing against these people. You might even be better than them. And, the whole thing that we did for years, bringing racers and, from gaming community to become real racers, was proof of that. Millions of people tried to be that person, and they didn't take the traditional route to becoming the racer. I think the same things happen in a lot of sports. People are learning or getting their interest in that sport initially from just being in the game. And so if you can connect more real time what's going on in your sport, like in the playoffs, like let them play against the real team. I've seen some examples of that in some sports and just little snippets of, you be able to be in the game and you're that player and your character is over top of it. That's cool for kids. They love that stuff. And when I say kids, 18 to 45-year-olds, right? They want that. That's, if you can get that magic, then that attention that they have for that whatever hours of the day they're awake, you can gain more of that back to yourself because you're more relevant in more mediums than just the linear medium or the streaming medium.
I completely agree with you, Darcy. I think the one challenge that we have as a league, as the definition of fandom changes, is how do you measure that? Like, how do you gauge how do you measure how engaged people are in your brand and how many people are engaged with your brand? Because right now, from a viewership point of view, we're only able to kind of measure the linear component, somewhat the social component, and somewhat the digital component, but really kind of aggregating all that together and be able to deduplicate and be able to sit there and say, on an average day, 10 million people engage with the NBA brand. This is a challenge that we have. And this is something that we're working towards to try to really kind of capture and measure engagement across all platforms and anything and any kind of engagement to any touch point into the NBA ecosystem.
Games and digital are the easiest place to measure if you know what you're looking for, because it's real time and it's data all the time. And if you want to find out who's playing NBA 2K right now, just go look at all the servers that serve up the games, these millions of kids that are playing. You're going to find out what team they're playing, what players they're playing, what they're doing. And if you listen to Discord, just do one more thing. Listen to the Discord around that game, you'll learn all kinds of things in real time about what the audience is doing during the playoffs, during regular season, during the off time, whatever it is. So you guys have a great advantage because you are the league. You know, you
Yeah.
got the rights. You give the rights to some publisher to make a game about your stuff. You need to be more involved in that, and not just passively throwing your rights over the fence to the game publisher.
No, I totally understand. And I wish all the other platforms were as easy as the gaming, because unfortunately, not all the platforms, not the measurement's not consistent across the board. And I think that's one of the challenges that we have is
What's
aggregating
what's
together.
when you say easier, what's easier about the game platforms specifically?
Well, he was saying that the measurement, you
Oh, the
could
measurement,
easily
yeah.
understand what's going on, who's watching, which teams they're playing. Um, for betting, we don't really get that detailed into the data, you know. Even for social media, like it's only so much that we can know. We can't even really know like demographic data and understanding who's actually engaging on our you know, with our players, our platform, I mean our league and our platforms. And so when you look at all the different touch points into our ecosystems, it's really kind of hard to kind of get consistent measurement across all of them.
We measure what's going on leading up into we'll say the playoffs, and you can see the groundswell and the wave coming of people playing more and more and more and more, and then going crazy during March Madness or NBA playoffs or NHL, whatever it is. So there's some magic in all that measurement, and games, it already provides that to you. So you almost don't have to worry about it. You just have to figure out how to yield that data into your systems to find out where these groundswells coming from and how you get the game attached to them. And I love what, sports are doing. You can follow players around now. You can click on them and find out, more about them and during the real game. That's a gamified experience, and that technology comes out of games. So there's definitely fabric there to connect it. And I think sports needs to spend more time on understanding that connectivity and that data and figuring out how to, put them together in the magic to figure out how to get more viewers and more sponsors and advertisers.